Hello, welcome to Faces of VJ, a podcast proudly brought to you by Victorians as we share with you our personal journey via Victoria. I am Ray and I'll be your host for today. With me are Rachel, Mei Hui, Neha and Eu Chia. Hi everyone.
Hello.
Alright, great. So now to kick things off immediately, could all of you guys share with me which streams you guys are from as well as your subject combinations?
Hi, I'm Rachel and I'm in the science stream, and I actually take a hybrid combination of geography, chemistry, math and econs.
Hi, I'm Mei Hui. I'm in the science stream and I take biology, chemistry, math and art.
Hi everyone, I'm Neha. I'm in the art stream and I take geography, TSD, literature and math.
Hello, I'm Eu Chia. I'm in the art stream and I take history, CSE, econs and math.
Interesting combinations all around, but Eu Chia, how do you mention CSE? Maybe you want to explain for our listeners out there what CSE actually is.
CSE actually stands for China Studies in English. And we learn about modern China. So it's more of their policies and issues in China today.
Oh, and then for Neha, what about TSD? Another fancy acronym. Maybe you want to share a little bit more about it.
TSD actually stands for Theatre Studies and Drama. So in TSD, we get to learn and experiment with many different approaches to performing, directing, and even designing a theatrical piece.
And then for Rachel, hybrid combination, right? You're not in the art stream, but then also you've got two art subjects as well. Maybe you can share a little bit more as well about how and why you decided on taking this combination that you have.
Well, okay, so for me, I wasn't very sure if I wanted to pursue a full arts or full science combination, so I decided to go for the hybrid combination, which is like a mix of both. And at the same time, I knew that I probably wouldn't really enjoy physics because I really struggled with it in secondary school. And I'm quite interested in geography, and econs seemed like a very cool subject to study, so from there I managed to decide on GCME as my combi.
And then what about for Mei Hui?
I think when I was deciding on my subject combination, I was quite sure that I wanted to do the sciences. But when deciding on my contrasting subject, I was split between econs and art. But I found out from my senior, right, that you could do things like watercolor, charcoal and oil painting. And I thought that was quite interesting. And then I also got the chance to take a look at the art room, which I thought was very cool, and that made me decide that I wanted to take art for sure.
Oh, and then for Eu Chia?
For me, I really wanted to take the art stream from the start because I can't really do sciences. But at the same time, I didn't want to take literature because I didn't take it as an O-level subject. Then one day, my sister actually told me about CSE and I went to read up on it and I found it really, really interesting. So in the end, I decided to take CSE along with history.
And then for Neha?
Actually quite similar to Eu Chia, I also had always loved my humanities subjects. I took geography and literature in secondary school and I intended to take them in JC from the start of upper sec. So I came across TSD on VJC's website when I was randomly snooping around one day, and as someone who really prefers hands-on learning and getting to move about and do things rather than sit and listen to lectures or write down notes and memorize, I was immediately captivated by the mix of practical and theoretical elements in the curriculum, and it was something that I've also never had the chance to learn before. So I decided to take it instead of econs, which is something that most people in the art stream take. So this ended up making my subject combi actually really rare and unique. So my timetable can be quite strange, but I don't really have any regrets. Yeah,
but you guys all sound as though you guys really enjoy the subjects that you guys are taking, right? But I'm interested to hear, are there actually any prerequisites for the subjects that you guys actually take, especially since there's so many niche subjects all around here? Maybe you can start with Rachel.
So for chemistry, I guess the most important prerequisite is that to take it at the H2 level, you need to have taken pure chem at the O levels, because most of the stuff that you learn in A-level chemistry, it really builds on your existing knowledge from O-level chemistry. So if you don't have that foundation, it's going to be very difficult for you. But for the other subjects I take, like geography, no prior experience is required because most of the content is new anyway. So I guess all you need is really just a keen interest. And econs is a new subject for everyone, so I guess there isn't really a prerequisite for it.
As for me, there aren't any prerequisites for any of the subjects I'm taking. But there is an audition for TSD, and this is conducted before you submit your final subject combi choices at the start of the year. So I think even considering the audition, I still think that the most important factor when taking art subjects is to really have a passion for the subject, because this really keeps you like motivated to learn and improve even if you have like zero prior knowledge, which was me before I took TSD, and I think I'm doing okay. So it's really about interest more than having experience.
Is it the same for history?
For history, you don't need to take it as an O-level subject in order to take history in JC. But I would say that you will need to be very interested in history and have some prior knowledge on events, like for example the Cold War. So for CSE, it's just like econs, so there's no prerequisite for it. But it's still good to know some stuff about China beforehand, because there's an aptitude test that you will have to take.
I know more about for art.
For art, there isn't a prerequisite, but there's a selection test. And a few of my friends actually took the art elective program in secondary school. But majority of us, like in my class of 8, I think 6 of us didn't have that background. But because we got that guidance from our teacher and we make art every week, so it's really a very good learning process and we were able to brush up our skills. So it's quite a fun process.
Oh, it's pretty interesting, right? There's quite a bit of aptitude tests and auditions, but at the same time, you guys, most of you guys mentioned, for a lot of you, actually, you guys didn't necessarily have prior experience before taking the subject. Maybe you're gonna share a little bit more about the different tests and auditions.
Okay, for the art subject, we do have an aptitude test. It has multiple components from essay writing to drawing. So it will test your observational skills and your imagination. But don't worry, because it's not actually an exam format. It's just a fun test for you to take it out and try and see if art is a suitable subject for you to take. And you can also talk to the art teacher during that time to find out more as well.
Oh, so it's not actually meant to scare you. It's more of a, for you to just try it out yourself to see whether or not you actually like the subject itself.
Yeah.
Right? And then for CSE?
For CSE, you will need to pass an aptitude test before we can take the subject, as I mentioned before. It's not really about the content, it's more of your writing skills, so don't really need to worry if you don't know anything about China. For me, when I was taking the test, it came to me like quite... they only told me about the test like on the day of orientation itself, so I didn't have time to prepare. Yeah, so before the test, I actually went to watch a video, like just watch one video on China. And when I went in, I really didn't know what was happening at all. Like my content was completely wrong. Like even my teacher told me that. She was like, what she told me was like, yeah, I can see that from your writing, you really don't know anything about the content. But she said that she'll accept me because of the writing skills. She thinks that it's okay. Yeah, so it's really okay. But I would still say do like read up a bit on it so that you won't be like too stumped like me. When you see the paper.
For TSD, the audition mainly tests your performance skills. So because this is something you can't really escape from when you take the subject, you can't like hide away in the backstage for like the entirety of the subject. So but you don't really have to worry too much now, because you'll be given ample time to prepare during the audition itself. And to be honest, I found it to be a really enjoyable experience, and it was also what convinced me to take TSD when I was quite unsure at the start of the year. So like if you're really interested in TSD, I would definitely strongly encourage you to try out. It's a good experience regardless of whether you get in or not.
Yeah, I guess that's some of the worries for perhaps our younger listeners out there being answered, right? You actually don't necessarily need that much experience when it comes to your subjects, right? Having passion for it, I think that's the most important thing at the end of the day for you guys. But perhaps moving on a little bit, when it comes to the exams, how are the exams actually like? Is there actually a lot of essay writing?
It's a lot of essay writing. Almost every paper involves essay writing. The only subject that I don't have to write an essay for is math. So even for source-based question, for example for CSE or history, you would still have to write it out in an essay style format. But to be honest, it's not as like tedious and tiring as it seems, because you'll just get used to it and it won't be that difficult after a while.
For me, I take a combination of humanities and science subjects, so there isn't really as much essay writing compared to Eu Chia, who's in the art stream. But I would say that for econs and geog, you still really need to write quite a bit. That's because for geography, the paper is split into data response and essay, whereas for econs, it's a case study and essay questions, and all of them involve some extent of analyzing and evaluating, but that also means that you usually have to write quite a lot. So usually for me, like after a geog or econs paper, when I walk out, my hand is usually like quite sore.
We have 2 years of training to go through before A's.
Yeah.
So I guess you eventually work out in the end. I think it's also similar for Neha, right?
For me, it's more similar to what Eu Chia mentioned because for the subjects I take, exams are almost entirely in essay format. So there is a lot of writing, but I think the real challenge isn't really about writing a lot or like learning to write super fast, but more about learning to communicate effectively because you have to be able to condense everything you've learned from the whole year and all the analysis you want to do and to impress your examiner with. It has to go into your essay within the time limit and under pressurizing conditions during the exam. So that's really what you need to like adapt to and learn more about.
Pressurizing conditions indeed. And for art?
So like for art, right, similar to the other humanities subjects, we have a theory component and it's called the study of visual arts. And for that, we actually have 6 essays worth 10 marks and 1 final essay which is 30 marks. And through that, we actually study a lot of different artists and different movements. But I think it's really interesting because at the same time, while looking at the different artworks, you also get to explore the different social issues of that time. So for example, gaining independence or like American consumerism. So it's actually quite interesting, and even though it's a very long paper, you eventually get used to writing a lot. And also we also have a coursework component where we can create our own artwork, which can be sculpture or painting, and that one will actually start exploring in our J2 year.
I'm just curious, how many artists do you guys actually study? Like in J1, for example?
For J1, we studied 21 artists. Actually, right, it's not that tough because our teacher actually gives us a Google Drive of resources, so we just need to narrow down our notes.
Okay. Sounds like quite a lot of things to do, but of course you still have your teachers helping you in the end, right? I'm just curious, with so much that is happening, do you guys think that you guys are actually well supported in all the subjects that you guys take? Rachel?
I think so, because like for me, my subjects aren't really as hands-on compared to CSE, art or TSD, but I feel that the notes and resources provided by the school are usually quite concise and they generally have everything that you need to know. The learning objectives for like all the various topics are also clearly stated on the notes, so you can use it as a guideline to help in your revision. And my teachers are also really supportive in the sense that if I have anything that I'm unsure of, I can always just go to them and they will answer my questions and explain everything to me very patiently. So I think I'm quite fortunate to have all these resources that I can easily tap on.
Same for me actually, especially for TSD where we don't really have textbooks and notes from the school. Our teachers are really the best resource we can tap on. So our teachers are actually both specialists in the areas that they teach, so like performance and design. And they are really extremely helpful in both guiding us through our preparation for our individual skill, as well as understanding the subject matter and applying it during exam time when we have our theory paper.
For me, my teachers are all quite supportive and they are also very willing to answer all my questions. I feel that they are really, really good at teaching essay skills and techniques, which is really important in my opinion, since my subjects are mostly essay-based.
I think our teachers are also very supportive. Sometimes we'll have 2 hours talk in the art room just discussing about our school life and things like that. And then I think my friends are also very supportive because sometimes we'll stay up late to the night to do our artwork together. So it's a very supportive community.
Oh, that's very heartwarming to hear. Do you guys have any last pieces of advice for those who may be still feeling lost or a little bit apprehensive when it comes to picking a subject combination, Rachel?
Oh yeah, one very important thing that I forgot to mention would be to look up the subject prerequisites for your desired university courses on like the university websites. This is because like some uni courses might require you to take a certain subject at the A levels, and you just don't want to accidentally like shut the doors to these courses with the subjects that you take in JC. And I think one more important thing is that if you're unsure about a subject, you can always go and consult like the syllabus document on the SEAB website, or you can talk to your seniors or teachers about it and just get a better idea of what the subject is about and a better gauge of whether the subject is really for you.
Yeah, there's a lot of tools to help us online, right? I think when it comes to picking a subject combination, you want to pick something that you have interest for, but also, looking into the future, making sure that whatever course you want to do in university, is going to be aided with whatever you take in JC. And I think that was a wonderful discussion. Thank you to all four of you, Mei Hui, Neha, Eu Chia, and Rachel, for sharing with us your experiences here. And to all our dear listeners, thank you once again for tuning into Faces of VJ and joining us today via Victoria. If you would like to know more about VJC, do remember to visit our Open House website, games website, and our YouTube channel to catch up on the previous podcasts. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.